What's up, ladies and gents? How you doing? Hopefully you're having a good day. We have had another Vertigo rework, and there are some significant changes here. This isn't just small changes. There are some map-defining changes, potentially, especially in middle and A. And I've got to say I'm quite surprised that Valve has changed it this much, but I guess it became pretty apparent after the major that something had to. This does, of course, put the final nails in the coffin for many of you that were hoping that Vertigo would be removed as cash is coming back in again. I don't see Valve putting this much emphasis and work on Vertigo just to remove it as soon as cash comes back soon. So I think it's more likely to be Mirage or maybe even Train that is making way and will be departing for Vertigo coming back, or cash coming back, pardon me, into the pool. But without further delay, let's have a look at these changes then, because there's some pretty strange changes and there's some very good changes as well. And there's a few things that I'm not entirely sure on because I haven't had a chance to test this with another person. There's some potential boost spots that could be very spicy for this map, but I'm literally doing this just after the update popped on us. So first big change, there is no longer a squeaky door to middle. And this does impact middle significantly, which I'll get into in a moment. But obviously, as you don't have this separating wall either, or the door itself, the B site feels much bigger. Also, you can't see the B site from spawn, which I do like. So you can't get any cheesy, sort of gimmicky AWP shots from the back of here, or any kind of lucky spray. These walls, of course, are not wall bangable. So you will not be able to stop the bomb if you're on the wrong side of the spawn. They have made a slight change to this jump as well. There's now like this little fence area. You can still make the jump. I'm a complete scrub with jumping and I can make it easily. But keep in mind it will block you from doing it this way. So you'll need to jump on top of the fence and go around the long way, which is very easy to do. But just keep that in mind. Apart from that, the fact that the site does feel bigger and maybe these entry points are slightly wider. The bomb boxes have got a different color to them now. They're more of a red-orange color. I assume this is just to make the CTs stand out a little bit more on the aggression before the boxes kind of mesh with the CTs to a degree. In the heat at the moment, maybe you'd camouflage the CT with it. Although personally, I've never had that problem, but I could see how some people may have it. The downstairs area is by and large untouched. There is one or a couple of big changes on the ramp on A, but we'll get back to that in a moment. There's still this boost area that you can do from this side from the CT's point of view, or obviously you can jump on the sandbags from middle. But let's actually have a look at middle itself. So without having this door, which a lot of players would use an AWP in, or maybe knock a hole in the door and use it as a chance to spray down with the M4 or the AUG, middle is much bigger, or at least it feels much bigger and more expansive. But it also feels quite dull to me, and it feels quite plain. There's a lot of area that doesn't really do anything. I guess you could use it as off angles, but it just doesn't quite feel right to me, and I can't put my finger on what it is. I also feel like with the entrance point being so very claustrophobic and tight, one smoke can deal with this very easily, and it's easily thrown from the backside here. There is a potential counterplay. You could maybe boost a teammate up over this smoke and just catch a glimpse of heads running across, or making sure that they're not going to be able to boost into the B side through the toolbox. But of course, at the same time, terrorists can spray through that smoke pretty easily and potentially wreck you that way. But I'd almost like this to be extended to either here or maybe even this point of the wall. I mean, you could go even a step further and bring it back here. I think that may be a bit too big. But if you brought it back to this stage or this, I think it would make it a little bit more reasonable for the CTs, not to get just smoked out. And additionally, I think it would make middle a little bit more interesting to battle for than just being this very close-knit angle. And the terrorists, due to the fact they don't have to worry about an extra big bit of danger on the squeaky door that used to be on this position, I feel like this just makes it way easier for the terrorists to control middle now. I can't really see how the CTs can consistently try and take mid control unless they play like 3 players in mid, but then you're running into the issue of, well, the other sites are pretty easy to hit as well from the Ts. So you're going to just leave one site very vulnerable and weak. So middle is a big change. Ladder has gone unchanged. The T-spawn is basically the same. So let's have a look at the other big change in this map, and it's A. And let's start off with one that many people, myself included, will be happy with. The forklift has been removed. Now, I just don't like forklifts on any maps. I don't like it on cache either. It always feels like just ass to try and hit a head behind the forklift. It seems like it absorbs so many bullets it shouldn't do. So I really like this. Very basic, very simple, very clean looking. Just the box. You can get back on these sort of little boxes and maybe boost over to peer over a smoke if the CTs are playing aggro down the ramp, which they may start to do so, and I'll get back to that in a moment. But I do like this change a lot. I think it does definitely add a different element and also takes away a very shitty element as well. Speaking of which, they have finally done it. They have finally bridged the gap in this sandbags. You can still wall bang it though, as you can see. So if you can find the right angle, there's still a potential to get a cheeky little kill here. But I think this is now going to be way more of a gimmicky spot. It's nowhere near as powerful as it was before for the CTs. And I could see the terrorists dealing with this quite easily. Plus, you can also, if you can put bullets through the sandbags, you can also land yourself a headshot onto anyone that's behind the sandbags too. So it does work both ways. So now that has been fixed alongside the forklift. Great news for everybody. Scaffolding is different as well. You can no longer go through the bottom side. It's only going to be the upper side. And that's going to help the CTs that are on the back of the sandbags and also the ramp. Basically, they only have to watch 2 angles now as opposed to potentially 3 or 4, because this has also been filled in, which I really like. I used to hate this angle before. It was a real nightmare on both sides of the coin. Now, I could see why they needed to do it, because otherwise it was just one entry point and it was up this ramp. And it just was a mess. It was just an absolute mess of T's rushing up the ramp and hoping for the best for some flashes and smokes. So I get why they put this hole in the wall, but they have changed it now to this side area. And it's a big, big change. There's now a side area of the scaffolding, which allows the T's to get up here pretty fast and start to challenge the site. And additionally, you'll notice this wall has also been filled in. So you used to be able to come through this wall. There used to be a hole on this side as well. So there is 2 entrances now to the A site. And this is going to be quite interesting. Now, I can see this being very claustrophobic, though, for the CTs. Because you can't really hide in positions like this too often. You're going to get wall banged. This does go both ways, though. You can wall bang the scaffolding from these wooden panels additionally. But I think positions like behind the box now is going to be massive. Maybe even back here is going to be big. But spots like this and this are going to be very, very big. Also on this boost. Well, it used to be a boost box. It's no longer a boost box. On the back side, this is going to be massive as well. I think this position is going to be even more important than it was before if you have someone playing on the ramp and making sure you don't get shot from the side. This could be a big, big angle. But obviously the downside of this is like one flash, you don't really have any cover to deal with it. And the terrorists, by the way, can flash up and over through like this without showing themselves. So it is very possible you could just detonate a flash up in the air. Of course, if someone's still on the scaffolding, it's pretty straightforward to just throw a flash, bounce it off, or indeed on the back of the site there and just detonate above the site and then push out behind it. Now, where I'm interested, and I haven't had a chance to try this with anybody else, and I'm really curious if you guys maybe can get this to work, is it possible to boost players up on these parts of the scaffolding? So for example, if you had 3 players, 1 player boosted 2, similar to like the boost box on cache, but if you had 1 player boost 2 players up here, then boost an extra player up on this part, is that possible? Because I can't find out myself. I'd love to try this with somebody else, but it's like 3 in the morning as I make this video. So, is this possible? Because if it is, that adds an extra layer to this site now. You can get players up on this area and actually drop over the box. Maybe even run across the wooden panels up onto the crane. Which would be pretty mad, honestly, all things considered. I also wonder on the other side, is it possible for the CTs to boost up on here? If they get onto this little cone and they boost up onto this box, is it possible? Is it possible to go both ways with this? I'd be really curious if you guys can test that out and let me know. So with A, no longer having this entry point, it is a lot more claustrophobic for them to try and get back on the site. For example, one smoke that's placed here will lock off both angles of re-engaging. If you lose the sight from the CTs, it's going to be very hard to retake. Very, very difficult indeed. You can have T's posted up here. They can be on the backside, especially if they can boost up. It's going to be a real nightmare on the sandbags. And it's going to be harder for the CTs, I think, to force their way out, especially if they're outnumbered. So I do worry about that for them. But there is another way of maybe stymieing and stalling the push. You have these 2 holes in the wall similar to middle, where you can bank flashes off. You can throw smokes out there. You can throw HEs, Molotovs, everything that you'd want. And this is definitely possible to... If you can get like 2 grenades popping off at the same time, this could be an absolute nightmare for the Ts if they're well placed. So there are definitely some ways of counteracting plays, but those are the main differences and the main changes to Vertigo. The other boost that I was thinking about actually is in middle, and this could definitely make a big change. And I thought about this because I noticed that these girders are kind of positioned in a way where there is a gap, and so is this area itself. And I was wondering, is it possible to actually boost someone up over here and potentially get round the back of B? Because that could definitely add an extra layer of variety and spiciness to the map, especially if you could also boost a CT over on this side as well. Now, I don't know if this is possible, because I'll show you right now what I'm talking about. If I no-clip up here, typically if you're actually able to no-clip, it will just drop down and it'll let you walk around. But it doesn't let me do anything, I'm just stuck. If I no-clip again and I go to the side here and I no-clip off, it kind of forces me off the edge. So I'm going to assume this isn't possible to do. I'm going to assume that you can't boost up on this area. And the same thing happened to me over on the scaffolding when I tried it as well. So by all means, give it a try and let me know if these boosts are possible. If they are possible, that definitely adds an extra layer towards middle control and indeed the A site as well. But these are the main changes, guys. I really like the changes to A. I do enjoy them a lot. Middle for me, though, is a bit of a concern. I think this is too tight an angle to watch for from the CTs, especially trying to rotate to try and take control of middle. Taking the door out is absolutely fine. I have no problem with that, but it definitely puts more pressure on the CTs to hold mid, which I'm not necessarily against, but I feel like it could be a little bit too T-sided in middle itself, and that definitely gives me a little bit of concern going forward, because I definitely don't think the terrorists ever really struggled when it came to Vertigo. When you combine it with the fact that the CTs can get pushed back way easier, and there's more avenues now to push through on the T side. Also, ramp control's nowhere near as promising from the CTs because of the change that's happened to the sandbags. I do worry if maybe this map is going to go a little bit too towards the T side, and we're going to start to get some landslide victories for the terrorists. Let me know below what you think. Has this changed Vertigo enough to make you a believer? Do you think this has a place in the competitive scene? Of course, I'm making this video without seeing a single pro game on this new Vertigo. So these are just my first impressions. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.